Tape Deck Media.
Hi folks, Aaron here with a couple quick reminders before we get into this episode. Over the next few months, we're going to be releasing some of our older, previously paywalled bonus content, with this being the first one of them. So this bonus episode was originally released fall of 2021, alongside our coverage of Arnold's 1997 cornball comic book movie, Batman and Robin, which he starred in as the villain Mr. Freeze. It's a silly movie, and our episodes covering it are super fun, so definitely check those out if you haven't yet. Also, keep an eye out for our new episode being released this weekend, where we'll be covering probably the only one of Arnold's films that's sillier than Batman and Robin. Until then, we hope you enjoy this, for the most part, previously unreleased bonus episode covering the origins of Arnold's character in the movie, as well as a little bit of the impact that Batman and Robin had on the Batman film franchise moving forward. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into it!
See you at the party, Richter!
Welcome to a special bonus episode of See You at the Potty, Richter. I'm Aaron Frescus. With me as always is Joseph Beck Castro.
Hello, cutie pies.
And Chris Chapman.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Dr. Chris.
Today, we will be expanding on Arnold's 1997 movie, Batman and Robin. We'll be doing that by discussing Batman the Animated Series Season 1 episode, Heart of Ice, which first aired September 7th, 1992. It was written by Paul Dini and directed by Bruce Timm, and was pretty much the basis for Arnold's character in Batman and Robin. And I know you guys are probably thinking, like, right now, like, an episode of a cartoon based on Arnold's over-the-top character, like, what's that about? Like, is it like Mr. Freeze's meteoric rise through, like, the world of professional bodybuilding that ends with him winning the title of Mr. Snow Olympia? No. Hypothetical listener. That one is actually Season 3, Episode 12, which was titled Snowman the Barbarian. Okay, I'm done with those. Sorry, those are... okay.
I was gonna say that's a long way to go for Mr. Snow Olympia, but you redeemed it at the end.
It was either that or Snowdle Recall. I couldn't decide which one was better. I could not think of any other ones, unfortunately.
Cold Mando.
That's not bad. Actually, I think I might have had that one.
True Ice.
Oh, see? Never mind. I was up. This is why I was up so late, by the way. Seriously, like 2 hours looking through stuff and trying to rhyme stuff.
Burminator 3 or Burminator.
Okay. See, don't do it while you're tired. Anyway. Okay. So, Chris, you want to give us a quick summary of what this episode is about?
Yeah, that sounds good. So, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I think I just want to say the main reason we're talking about this is because, like Aaron said, this episode, the portrayal of Mr. Freeze here, is kind of the entire basis for Arnold's character in the movie. Mr. Freeze wasn't much of a character before this cartoon, so that's kind of why we're talking about it. And I think this cartoon was very popular at the time the movie came out, so they were compared. All right, so to summarize the episode, we open up with Mr. Freeze talking to his dead wife Nora, as represented by a little ballerina toy inside of a snow globe, promising to get revenge on somebody. We don't know who yet. A news report tells us about a series of robberies committed against GothCorp, and we meet GothCorp's CEO, Ferris Boyle. Batman has deduced that all the items stolen from GothCorp are related and can be arranged into a large-scale freeze ray, as well as where the final necessary component is. Mr. Freeze and his goons break into another GothCorp facility, but Batman has anticipated the heist and gives chase. After taking out the Batmobile, Mr. Freeze loads up what he needs from GothCorp, but then Batman catches up and takes out all the goons. Mr. Freeze says that he has no desire to fight Batman, but won't let anyone stand in the way of his revenge. He takes out Batman and one of the goons in the process, and cruelly leaves one of his own behind. Batman takes the goon and helps him recover from being frozen, while also developing a cold, presumably from the fight with Mr. Freeze.
I mean, that's not how colds work, but I mean, he
it's
had that before.
Not, but the cartoon wants you to think that, yeah. Bruce goes to visit...
Always gotta blame your problems on somebody else, Batman.
Bruce goes to visit Ferris Boyle to find out who might hold a grudge against GothCorp. Boyle reveals that a former employee named Victor Freeze might hold such a grudge, and also reveals himself to be a greedy, compassionless sack of shit.
Yeah, so Bruce understood.
Yeah.
It's like, I too am a ruthless billionaire.
Batman decides to investigate what happened between Freeze and Boyle. He does this while Boyle himself is receiving a humanitarian award. The surveillance footage that Batman finds reveals that Boyle violently shut down Freeze's experiment to preserve his dying wife, in the process killing Nora and creating Mr. Freeze. As Batman reels from this revelation, he is actually captured by Mr. Freeze back in the present day. Freeze reveals his plan to kill Boyle and everyone else at the reception by freezing the entire building that they're in. After Mr. Freeze leaves to enact the plan, Batman frees himself and follows him. He stops the building from being entirely frozen, but then Mr. Freeze makes his way up to the reception to kill Boyle personally. Batman stops him, but also reveals what Boyle did, simultaneously ruining his image and getting him sent to jail. We end with Mr. Freeze in his cell, begging Nora's forgiveness for failing to avenge her.
Guy's got some problems.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry, it'll get worse if I keep talking, so I'm just going to stop. I got to say my favorite part of the episode, which I watched it with Joe earlier, but pointed out to him, is when Batman, they start fighting and Batman starts chopping at his neck, but it's very let me go sort of thing.
Stop it. Put me down.
Any thoughts or anything? What do you want to start with?
Well, Joe, this is the first time you've seen the episode, right?
That I remember, yes.
Okay. What are your feelings? Did you like it? Did you think it was good?
Yes.
Cool.
No. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed the kind of moral quandary of it at the end. Where Batman was like, I get it, Mr. Freeze, but also you're still a bad guy. But you and the other dickhead are both bad guys. Yeah. So he's not
different kind.
Yeah. He didn't go and join Mr. Freeze to get revenge on douchebag, but also he didn't just cover up douchebag's mistake either.
Yeah.
He totally called him out. So
True.
that was cool of Batman.
Yep.
There was one part where Batman dresses as a security guard and he infiltrates their thing, but then he changes back when he's still in the back, looking through the files. He changes back into his Batman suit. It's why not just stay dressed as a security guard, Batman? That way. If anybody walks in, they're like, oh, security guard, all right. Instead of being oh, shit, it's Batman.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze probably wouldn't have kidnapped him if it was just some random blonde security guard.
Yeah.
Just would have frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that he carried the chicken soup in his belt.
Yeah, he was carrying around that thermos full of chicken soup the entire time.
And that thin belt.
Yeah. Well, no, well, maybe it was on the belt. I don't know. Mr. Freeze took away the belt, and we saw the belt by itself. So I think
just left him with the chicken soup. You do sound like you have a cold.
But it does change his character a little bit because in this episode, it's presumed at least that his wife is dead, and he's just going to avenge her. And in the movie, his wife is still alive. He's just got to figure out how to solve McGregor's syndrome or whatever. Yeah. And also, he's way more joyous and gleeful in the movie.
Yeah, and also, I think it makes a difference that in the animated series episode, he's only trying to take revenge on one person. It's if people get in his way, he has no problem freezing them. But it's not. It's a little bit more relatable than in the movie, where he's just all of humanity will suffer.
Oh yeah, after his wife does, or he thinks she dies. But yeah, I actually saw a meme recently that was had him in Poison Ivy. It's she was just trying to grow some plants or replant the earth, and he was just trying to cool it. And then we're all rooting for this dickhead billionaire. I was yeah, that's true.
Yep, the broad strokes of that story have not aged well.
Except for the kill all humanity part, but whatever.
Sure.
All right. I have, we'll do a little bit of trivia before we get into the... Do you have any other comparisons between the show and the movie?
I don't have super specific ones. I just think that obviously they're going for two entirely different tones, but I think the writing is still much better in the animated series. All of Mr. Freeze's dialogue is so much... I get that Arnold was doing, they were doing, a funny thing, but still, there was just... even in the serious parts, the dialogue from the animated series was just way better.
Yeah. So I have 4 quick bits of trivia, and then some stuff that'll lead us into why the movie sucked. So this was the first episode of the series that was directed by Bruce Timm, as well as the first one written by Paul Dini, and it won an Emmy for the writing. I think it was a daytime Emmy, but still an Emmy.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Bruce Timm is the guy who actually created Batman the Animated Series. He's the actual showrunner and the one who came up with the original concept.
Yeah. So he also said, Bruce Timm said how difficult it was getting Michael, I think it's Ansara, who does Mr. Freeze's voice, to play it flat for the role, because he said that the voice actor was just acting too much, and he kept getting frustrated because Bruce Timm kept telling him to tone it down and do a more robotic voice, just no, you're supposed to be emotionless, and that's it was his first time voice acting, so he was having a hard time with that. Mark Hamill was voiced by Ferris Boyle, or Mark Hamill, who voiced Ferris Boyle, said he based the voice on Phil Hartman. Before this episode, Mr. Freeze was just a gimmicky, another Batman villain with a gimmick, basically. Mm-hmm. So he didn't have a backstory. They'd already killed him off in the comics when this episode first aired, but then they ended up bringing him back with the backstory that Paul Dini created.
Yeah.
So basically, the animated series, it had a pretty big impact as far as Batman comics, because between Mr. Freeze and then Paul Dini also created Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. So, although I guess he pretty much created Mr. Freeze as well. He was around.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. He took the idea, but I don't even think he looked like that originally.
Yeah, no, he was in a spacesuit, I think.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I was reading a couple different interviews with both of them, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, and you both mentioned this, but Bruce Timm actually, he said that he never intended for his wife to be alive in Heart of Ice. So I never realized that until probably one of the last few times I watched it, that she's actually dead. And that was after reading the trivia, because they wrote the character as having died during the incident with Batman watches in the video. And it makes sense because you never see her in that vat of freeze goo in this episode. Yeah. Which, Joe, you caught it right away, it seems like, when we were watching it.
Yeah.
But the next episode he's in is when you first see his wife. And it's still not made completely clear that she's alive in either of those episodes, in that episode either. The first time that it's made clear is in the movie they did an animated movie called Sub-Zero, which was made around the same time as Batman and Robin, and was supposed to be released simultaneously as a companion piece, but it was shelved for a year after Batman and Robin didn't do well, which is probably a good thing, because if you'd seen any of the animated series, or if you'd seen any of the animated series after Batman and Robin, you would have been what happened to his fucking accent? And dude, this guy's a downer. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I want to see oh no, freeze in hell.
He hasn't cracked a single joke.
Exactly. This guy sucks. But there was also a Cracked article that I wanted to mention, which I'm pretty sure was a theory that they pulled off of Reddit, about how this movie and Batman Forever are actually movies inside of the Tim Burton universe. Huh. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed.
Oh, really? Did you write that theory?
No, but they're sequels to the first two.
In a completely different tone?
Yeah, and I'm sure at the time it was probably different, but now we have this whole this idea of the Quentin Tarantino verse, or the Stephen King verse or whatever. So I just assumed that, well, maybe not. Maybe I didn't assume it was in the Tim Burton verse, but I assumed the first four were their own thing. It was a different Batman than the Adam West Batman and all that other shit.
I mean
Edward Scissorhands takes place in the same universe as this Batman?
No. It's all in the same universe, but Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are movies that were made. Okay, so were movies that were made.
Michael Keaton's Batman could go see Batman Forever in the movie theater because they're movies in his universe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I did not think of that. I am not that smart.
Yeah, so these people think way too much about stuff. So the theory goes that after Batman Returns, Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, was all sad about losing Catwoman. So he gave up being Batman and revealed his true identity to the world. So then someone made a movie about him. So basically Michael Keaton is the real Batman, and Val Kilmer and George Clooney were actors that were hired to play Batman for the movies in his universe.
Yeah. That's really cool. Is there any evidence to support this, or just
no
a feeling?
Well, it kind of falls apart when you consider that Commissioner Gordon and Alfred all are played through by the same people throughout the whole thing. Yep. Although I'm sure whoever came up with it on Reddit has a reason for it.
I'm sure, but it's still weird.
But there's I can send you the link if you want. I know there's I started reading the Reddit thread for it, or the threadit. Is that what they call them, Joe?
I don't think so, but they should.
But it's long from what I remember.
Yeah.
So
much like my penis.
So we didn't really get too far into into this in the regular episode, but I do have a couple of possible behind the scenes reasons that kind of point out to why the movie failed. And most of it comes from this documentary that was about all 4 films called Shadow of the Bat that I think was part of the Blu-ray box set. But the last part is about Batman and Robin, and between some of the comments that the cast and crew make, you kind of start to get an idea of what might have gone wrong with the movie. Basically, because at first it's them making excuses for the movie, and then basically after that, just flat out apologizing for it. So I'm only going to show 2 quick clips. The first one is 40 seconds long and is great because it starts off with Joel Schumacher making... It's a interesting observation about Batman Forever that ends with Chris O'Donnell doing a great job of summing up Batman and Robin in only 3 sentences.
There was a kind of modesty when we made Batman Forever.
That right there was just funny to me. That he said there was modesty when they were making Batman Forever.
It was a more innocent time.
Yeah. He's like, we kind of held back during Batman Forever, We tried to keep the tone down a little bit. Sorry, it keeps going, but like when I first saw this, I was like, what?
Which was a little bit like We Think We Can. And, it just felt on Batman and Robin that Jack was out of the box. It just felt like the sky was the limit.
We were on a high, there's no question about it. You have a film that's very successful, Batman Forever, and you have all the elements in place. You say, why not? We had a great time. Let's do it again.
I freeze. I'm Batman.
First movie, things felt much sharper and more focused. And it just felt like everything got a little softer on the second one. The first one, I felt like I was making a movie. The second one, I felt like I was making a toy commercial.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So, Chris O'Donnell also mentioned that the movie came out too soon after Batman Forever and that there wasn't the usual, excitement or anticipation for it because there was only a 2-year gap between the movies instead of they usually had 3 years between the movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like how candid everyone is in this.
Okay, yeah, you watched it.
Yeah,
they're very, which makes me kind of want to watch the other ones just to see if everyone's, But he also wasn't wrong about the toy commercial part because both Schumacher and one of the producers said that they basically had to let the toy company be involved in the production design. So the costumes, the gadgets, and the Batmobile. The toy company had a say in.
Yeah.
And Joel Schumacher said that Warner Brothers told him they wanted the movie more family-friendly and even introduced him to the term toyetic when it came to how he should approach filming it.
Toyetic.
I don't know if they made it up, but
I think they made it up.
That is the exact word that he uses, and he's used it in a bunch of interviews too. But it makes sense because John Glover, who ends up playing Dr. Woodrue, said that before each take, Schumacher would yell through a megaphone. He'd be like, "Remember, everyone, this is a cartoon."
To kind of set the tone for what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Which explains a lot.
Yep.
So Arnold did say that he did the movie for the opportunity to work with Joel Schumacher, and he doesn't regret making it. But in 2012, he told Empire Magazine, quote, "I felt the character was interesting, and 2 movies before that one, Joel Schumacher was at his height. At the same time, I was doing a racer over there in Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers begged me to do the movie." In that same article, though, he also talked a little bit about the abandoned James Cameron Spider-Man movie, and how he almost
be in that?
He almost ended up playing Doc Ock in that movie, which would have been
that would have been awesome.
I like how 2 different directors were like, you're a Nobel Prize winning genius.
At first I was like, that would have been horrible, but it's James Cameron, so he would have made him keep doing it until he got what he wanted.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Schwarzenegger would have strangled him, one of the two. But he basically said the same thing in the documentary, but it wasn't. But he said, it wasn't Warner Brothers that was begging him to do it. But
I didn't really think much about it until Joel Schumacher came to me and said that he would like me to play Mr. Freeze. But as I said to him, I said, this sounds very interesting, and let me think about it. This is really a great character to play. And Joel then turned to me and said, well, just so you know, that if you decide not to do it, I will not direct the movie. because I only can do this movie if you play Mr. Freeze. So what are you gonna do? I mean, screw up a whole movie. He made me feel like I would make this whole thing fall apart if I'm not part of this whole. So he made me feel like, King Kong. So I said to him, I called him the next day and I said, you know something, Joe? I'm going to do Mr. Freeze.
Hi there.
And you are...
I just like that part. Sorry, I left it going because I was like, I love when he says, and you. Okay, so it's been amazing how how much contradictory info or trivia or statements I've found for this movie with everybody in it, because that is pretty much not what he said in the other interview. But I guess those people probably, or they probably don't, lying is probably, they don't realize they're doing it. Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, you're just I'm sure in the moment he's in an interview, he's just trying to tell the most entertaining story possible. I mean, that's his job.
Well, it's not even him. It's with Joel Schumacher. Everybody has different stories.
Oh yeah, everybody.
With this movie. But anyway, it does seem like he actually doesn't really care one way or another about the movie, and it was hard finding much about what he thinks about it now.
Yeah.
But there was plenty of it with George Clooney, who said he hated the movie, which we saw, but didn't regret doing it because it made his career, basically, or it helped his career. It transitioned into movies. And then, like I said, at the end of the documentary, Joel Schumacher pretty much starts apologizing for anyone that might have been disappointed after watching it. And I kind of feel bad for him because a lot of the articles I found were basically just him apologizing over and over again to different magazines or websites.
Yeah. I read a couple and I really was annoyed at the interviewers because they were being real shitty to him.
Yes. There's a Vice article, an interview with the dickhead author. He at first, his little intro for the interview, he admits to being a DC fanboy, and then he's pretty much picking at him the whole time until Joel Schumacher finally apologizes. But it just comes off like even his apology comes off like he doesn't care, and he doesn't see what everyone's so upset about.
Yeah, it's a fucking Batman movie. And the other thing is, he's being really generous in these interviews, because I watched the whole thing and he talks 4 or 5 times throughout it. He's being very generous in being like, hey, I was an adult. Yes. I was in the room. I'm not blaming anybody else, but there were these, and these factors. It's he's being very I don't know what the word is, but he's being very generous to the studio when I'm sure he was fucking pissed at the time.
Well,
how much control they were exerting over it.
The Vice article reminded me of the Poochie episode of The Simpsons where the nerds are asking him questions at the Itchy and Scratchy panel, and Homer just shuts one of them down. I can't remember what he says, but they're asking about.
I'm trying to remember. No, I can't remember Homer's response.
Why would a man with a shirt that says "Genius at Work" spend so much time playing a children's video game?
I retract my question.
Yeah.
And it's great because she obviously hates doing the Comic-Con stuff because of it. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, Joel Schumacher did have a funny quote during one interview when he once again was taking blame, and he pretty much said to stop blaming the writer Akiva Goldsman. So he said Akiva Goldsman was blamed for this sort of lightness and humor. But it's not fair. I take full responsibility. Akiva did write the script, but I shot it and worked with him. So, if you love a movie, there are hundreds of people who make it lovable for you. If you don't like it, blame the director. That's what our names are there for.
Wow.
Which was super nice of him to say.
Yeah, that's an insanely, an exceptionally nice thing for him to say.
Yeah. But the funny part comes next when he says, quote, I didn't do a good job. George Clooney did. Chris O'Donnell did. Uma Thurman is brilliant. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I mean, but really, usually when it's Steve's Steve, whatever, that means Steve's an asshole. But when it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're like, yeah, that's a compliment.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely not. You're not putting him down.
No, he does what he does, or he did what he does.
Yeah, exactly. If we didn't want that, we wouldn't have hired Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
So because of the negative reception, this is the last thing we're going to talk about. Tim Burton's Superman movie, which was titled Superman Lives, was canceled after it was already in pre-production. It was supposed to star Nicolas Cage as Superman and take place in a universe, the same universe as George Clooney's Batman. And there's actually a pretty good documentary about what happened with the movie called The Death of Superman Lives, which have you guys seen?
I watched it a long time ago, like right after it came out.
Yeah, same. Joe, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. It's like, I can't remember what, it's like them dealing with the producer was another problem. What was it, John Peters?
Yeah, John Peters, who is apparently kind of insane. Was like a huge part of why that movie was so insane and why they pulled funding for it.
And then Kevin Smith was a writer. So most of it is with Kevin Smith just like being very candid about what went wrong and pretty much calling John Peters crazy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to insert a giant spider into the movie and he's had the idea for a long time and Kevin Smith pointed out that he finally got it into Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but anyway,
he is a, what was he? He was like a Hollywood hairdresser who became a
for Streisand.
Yeah. So I think he eventually became this huge powerful executive producer, but was not necessarily the most creative type.
Yeah. That wasn't the only sequel that was canceled after Batman and Robin shit the bed. 2 Batman sequels were canceled as well. And there were like a couple more after that. But one was a Robin Nightwing sequel that would have starred Chris O'Donnell. And then the other one was a direct sequel called Batman Unchained. And that one was supposed to be directed by Joel Schumacher and was supposed to be darker than the previous 2. It would have once again starred George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell, with the villains being the Scarecrow, played by Nicolas Cage, because there's no other actors. And then possibly Courtney Love as Harley Quinn, which I just don't like Courtney Love. But
yeah.
Anyway, I guess Harley Quinn was rewritten as Joker's daughter, and it was supposed to have this like dream sequence that featured every villain from the previous movies, including Jack Nicholson's Joker. But any sort of plans for it were canceled once Batman and Robin was like shit on when it was released.
Yeah.
So then Warner Brothers commissioned a script from these 2 dudes named Lee Shapiro, Stephen Wise, who had the Scarecrow and Man-Bat as the villains. But they were pretty much ghosted by Warner Brothers after the studio decided they wanted to reboot the series. And they went in a completely different direction after that, because they decided, like when they decided on the reboot, because next up was Frank Miller and Darren Aronofsky, who at that point was only known for Pi. And it's just weird because like they didn't end talks with them until 2002. And he made Requiem for a Dream like during that time. So are you still like, this guy's still probably okay for Batman? But like
I mean, for the direction they wanted to go, were they trying to make it kid friendly? It was supposed to be Dark Knight Returns, which is super dark, and wasn't it supposed to be Clint Eastwood?
Well, no. What it said in the article that I was reading is they wanted to make Year One. So
okay.
Warner Brothers pretty much told them to fuck off because they saw like insane and violently like R-rated the script was. So that one had Bruce Wayne living on the streets, working as a short order cook at one point. Then Commissioner Gordon, who's just a detective, he was trying to capture him, and they ended up working together to take down the mob. Which is what Year One is, correct?
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
But the next up was a live action Batman Beyond, which was written by Paul Dini, who wrote Heart of Ice, based off the cartoon, same name, takes place in the future. Bruce Wayne's like an old crotchety man. Recruits a teenager to take his place. Paul Dini told Kevin Smith on Kevin Smith's podcast that they basically couldn't come up with a script that they liked, so it died. Yeah.
Just like Batman's parents.
Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, there's a Wolfgang Peterson directed Batman, or there was supposed to be a Wolfgang Peterson directed Batman vs. Superman that seemed like it was even longer and more convoluted than Zack Snyder's version, if that's possible. Which, Joe, did you watch that one?
No.
Okay, it's probably...
Good on you.
Yeah. But basically, Bruce Wayne retires from being Batman. He gets married. The Joker, who's working with Lex Luthor, ends up killing Bruce's wife. And he kind of goes crazy and starts like trying to find him and beating the shit out of everyone. Like as Batman, which causes him and Superman to start fighting, which ends in like a stalemate, of course. Maybe possibly after saying his mom's name. But then they end up eventually teaming up and take out Joker, Lex Luthor. But this did not end up getting made because the studio decided to keep it as 2 separate franchises, which was definitely for the best, because after that they went to Batman
to Nolan,
Begins. Yeah. So it basically sounds like WB had pretty much like no idea of what to do with Batman and kind of just got lucky ending up with Christopher Nolan's thing.
Yeah. It also sounds like they were desperately trying to make another Batman movie almost immediately. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they kept, like, stuff kept falling through, but they were definitely trying to keep that IP going, like, as much as possible. And I think them waiting so long between Batmans was probably the best thing for them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they were just trying to get back on that horse, you know?
Yeah.
Or if you fall down...
Why do we fall down, Mr. Wayne?
Exactly. So we can get back up. I have no idea what the fuck that was.
That's
Come on, Batman. Get up. Let's do it. Like, imagine if that's Alfred's voice. Like,
Batman, come on.
hey, Mr. Wayne. Come on, let's get at it, you know?
He's from just New York in the
He
30s.
doesn't even call him Master Wayne.
Yeah.
He calls him Mr. Wayne.
Yeah.
Mr. Wayne.
Hey there, Mr. Wayne. It's like from...
I turned a 74 Corvette into the Batmobile.
He's the
Why?
Fonz.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, Mr. Wayne. Hey,
Yeah.
Mr.
Hey,
B.
Mr. W.
Or Mr. W. Yeah, he's done.
That's how you make a Batman movie. Take notes.
Exactly.
Warner Brothers, both of you. Well, 3 of you. I don't know how many there are, but you better take some notes.
Well, the last thing I wanted to mention was a comment by Kevin, whatever, however you say his last name, the president of Marvel Studios.
Feige.
Yeah. What? Really? That's how you say it?
Feige. Yeah.
Huh. It's not spelled. I mean, whatever. Anyway, it's just. Anyway, with the spelling out, I wouldn't have figured that. But so he said that Batman and Robin is the most important comic book movie we ever made because its catastrophic failure forced major comic book companies and film studios to rethink how they presented their comic book based media from there going forward. And basically, you wouldn't have gotten Batman Begins or any of that without.
Or X-Men was like the first one to start all that off.
Yes.
And the original X-Men is awesome. And
Yeah.
X2.
And Blade.
Yeah, and Blade. And X2 Judgment X-Men. Whatever the fuck it is. X2 Exterior. X2 Fast.
X2 Excrement Day. Wait, no.
No, what the fuck is it? X2.
X-Men United.
Yeah, that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And then X3 was garbage.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then they somehow made it worse when they remade Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one. I think that's the only X-Men I haven't seen, but I'm probably better off.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But then it led to Logan, and that movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I fucking love that.
That one came out after Logan, I think. That was like the
What,
last one.
Dark Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's talking about X3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I'm
true.
just saying, if Batman and Robin didn't exist, then we would have gotten Logan.
It's true.
It's true.
My favorite
It's
scene
pretty
in all
tight.
the X-Men movies is when James McAvoy's Professor Xavier gets shot and paralyzed. I don't know. Every time, like the first time I saw it, I just started cracking up in the theater. And I think I was with one of our friends, and he's like, looks at me, he's like, "Oh man, I don't know. I heard it in a British accent, like, blimey, he shot me bad." What was it like? And then just
Shot
like
me right above me knickers.
exactly. He shot me walking stick in me blovely bags, and then something like stupid like that, like some sort of like what is that, Cockney gibberish? Like
Yeah.
Criminy, he shot me butternut in the fluffy stuff. And he falls to the ground. I don't know. I started cracking up, and it's still my favorite scene every time I see it. So basically, my last thought is basically pretty much all the trolls and everything that I read should be thanking Joel Schumacher and not trying to get him to apologize, because like without this movie, none of the other stuff would have happened. Which it would have happened eventually, because eventually someone's gonna fuck something up bad enough to where you're like, okay, we need to turn it around. But yeah,
I mean, I guess he's responsible for all those fucking gritty reboots, like in the aughts and the teens. Everything was like, oh, it's a gritty reboot, you know?
Yeah.
I think we've kind of come around a little bit on that. You know, we're doing a little less gritty reboots and everying.
yeah.
Because it didn't always work out. Amazing Spider-Man, looking at you pile of dog shit. But, you know, all like the gritty reboots everybody was into was because of whatever the opposite of gritty was fucking Batman and Robin. So
Yeah.
Were those movies going on at the same time as the Marvel movies, the Spider-Man ones? The
Amazing Spider-Man? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Amazing Spider-Man was 2014.
yikes.
Iron Man was 2008.
Damn.
Yeah, Sony really doesn't know how to make a Spider-Man movie.
I don't know. They made 4 good ones. One
Sam
decent one.
Raimi made 4 good ones.
No, he made 2
Oh,
good
sorry.
ones.
Sam Raimi made 2 good ones.
2.5 good ones.
Yeah, one that's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
Really?
And then the Amazing Spider-Man one. I haven't even watched the fucking second one.
I didn't watch the second one either.
It's terrible.
But, you know, the 2 Tom Holland ones are good. And Sony made
Yeah.
those.
Well, Marvel made those with Sony's permission.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
it was...
That's why he gets to be in the Marvel movies, is because they kind of have like joint custody now.
Gotcha.
Did you watch that? Did you watch that Spider-Man trailer, Joe?
I watched like half of it, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to watch anymore because I don't want to know anymore.
Should have finished it. The end of it.
You know what? That's probably a good thing.
But I'll just watch the movie.
That's true. That is probably a good thing.
If he can
Make it.
hold his load long enough to make it through the movie, then he's gonna enjoy that movie way more than me.
That payoff will be the payoff will be good.
Well, who made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Because that's probably the best
That's
comic
Sony.
movie.
It's all Sony.
Again, Sony owns the character, so they made it, but I attribute that way more to the director. Like, I don't attribute Amazing Spider-Man to the director because they hired some indie filmmaker.
Yeah, they hired the guy that
he had
made 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, basically the thing that Marvel does now, where they hire an indie filmmaker and then just give them a big budget movie, but mostly they're in control. It's like, I'm guessing Sony execs were mostly in control of that movie, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
But Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie, and probably the best comic book movie. Come fight me, nerds! I don't care.
No,
also, I've only watched it once, and I was on acid, so might have clouded my judgment.
That must have been awesome. With the animation,
insane.
Blew my mind
because the animation in there is crazy as it is. Like
it blew my mind sober, so I can't imagine what it's like on acid.
Yeah.
The problem is those movies take so long to make because they do it like that, correct? So the next one's not going to... I'm assuming the next one's not going to come out for like at least a few years.
Yeah, the next one's at least a couple years away.
And they've already started working on it?
Yeah, I'm sure they started working on it like the second the first one was done.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Any other thoughts or anything else to mention?
I think just the main reason that I wanted to talk about this is because it kind of... It just makes a ton of sense to me why people got so upset at Batman and Robin at the time, because the animated series came out in 1992. And if you go watch Heart of Ice, you can tell instantly why everybody loves this series. And it was on, 5 years of children growing up on that animated series, and then Batman and Robin comes out. It is so different. It is so insanely different. And especially when you hear Mr. Freeze, like if you were old enough to watch Batman when Heart of Ice came out, and then 5 years later they're actually putting Mr. Freeze in a movie for the first time, and then that's what you get, I can't imagine how bad the disappointment is from that.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes a ton of sense to me why everybody was so mad. Because
how dare you say that about Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin? It was
I
amazing. The rest of the movie, I agree, but
that's why I was mad. Like I just remember being disappointed, and I'm sure I went home and I probably went and jerked off in the bathroom. Yeah, of course. Yeah, or in the shower, which I don't even think at that age. What was I, 15? I can jerk off in the shower. Holy shit! That was probably the greatest discovery ever. I was like, oh my god, I can do this in the shower. Because I don't think I was doing it in the shower. It was just get in, get out. I think he was always in bed, which I was like, oh, gotta get cut. Anyway.
That is really great to know, knowing that we shared a room for a long time.
No, I don't think when you were in there. I don't know.
I'm actually recording this from my parents' house right now, and I've jerked off at this spot plenty of times. And I also found out my mom listens to the podcast, so hi, Mom. Okay, maybe we want to cut this part out.
She's got to pay for this part.
Yeah, she's got.
Oh, that's true.
And you know what? If she's willing to pay, I'm willing to sell you out. So,
I'm trying to think of the weirdest place I jerked off now. But I might have done it at church once. Yeah, I think I might have. No, is that not the weirdest place? That might be the.
No, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Really?
I got bored. Church is fucking boring.
Yeah,
that's true. I did it on an Amtrak train.
Really?
Yeah, I was 25. So
okay, at least I was
felt 16. Beaten off, so I went into the bathroom and
it's all loud. You can hear the.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. Ambient rhythm sound to drown out the the sound coming from in there.
Were you using your imagination, or did you have at least your phone?
He was using the movement of the train. Duh.
This was 2008. It was imagination. There was no smartphones, or at least I didn't have one.
What brought this? I'm curious. What brought that on?
I don't know. Sometimes you just get the urge. You know, it was like being 15 again, but
Where were you going?
I was going from the Bay down here to my parents' house.
Yeah, it's all the rolling hills of Central California that did it.
Yeah.
Either that or all the cows.
All right.
Those look like boobs.
All right. Well, nowhere, huh? Just at home. You're like, Chris.
Oh, me? I'm trying to remember. I think the mall bathroom once?
Wait,
Nice.
it's like in the middle of shopping?
No, I wasn't. I was a teenager with no money. I was just walking around the mall. I wasn't shopping.
So you just slipped into a stall and let one rip?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just realized
Nice.
that I was in a stall when I was doing that in the church.
Of course you were.
I just realized it right now. I was like, oh man.
What, did you think you were doing it at the urinal before?
At first I was like, okay, it's fine. I was probably in my own, no, it was a stall.
In your own what?
Private,
See, that would have been weird if you were in one of some private church room.
No, but like a bathroom with a locked door.
Yeah, like a locked door bathroom.
Oh, like a single person bathroom.
Single person bathroom. Yeah.
Oh no.
No,
Yeah,
it was a stall.
It was definitely a stall situation.
You were in the mall. Wasn't there people walking in and out?
No.
You're like,
It was like the middle of the afternoon in the middle of like summer. I don't know.
So we
There just
talking
wasn't that many people there.
Oceanside Mall or Escondido?
No, it's
Mall?
Escondido.
and just like you said, for no reason, just whatever.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I
I
was 14. I did not need a reason. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about, man.
No, that's fine because I jerked off in a church. So
Yeah. I still think that takes it. So
I'm like almost positive, unless that was a dream, which I know it wasn't. I'm just trying to brush it away to where it might have been a dream. But no, I'm just curious what got that going to where I was like, maybe I was in the bathroom and I was peeing and then I was like jiggling around too much and I was like, oh, that feels nice. Well, they're not going to miss me. I'm just moving to the stall.
were they reading Leviticus or whatever the horny Bible
Is that the horny
book
book?
is? I don't know shit about the Bible, but there's one that you talk about boning.
Oh, I don't know.
I think there's a couple.
Probably not. That church was boring.
That's why you beat off.
Yeah, exactly. Beating it for Jesus. Okay. I guess that's all. I was just trying to pad the episode outside. I was like, I'm sure you got plenty of jerking off stories.
Yeah. We can go on all day.
Exactly.
This will be half of all our bonus content, just so you're aware.
Start calling it boner content.
There was, oh man, I had an idea for the bonus content. What was it? No, it was just getting other people's jerk off stories, I think. I think that was it. Well, or it was something similar to this.
That's a great idea.
I know, that's a good idea. It was either that or what was it? It was like, we're getting caught, which I'm not going to talk about it right now because I'm sure he was around when I was getting caught. But
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for Beat Off Talk as usual, and also randomly some Arnold movies sprinkled in there. Well, I guess that's it. If you're listening to this, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Leave a review. If you leave a review on iTunes, we'll read it live on air.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Doesn't
also
matter what
feel
it
free
says.
to, yep. Even if it's 1 star, we'll read it and call you a stupid person because you're obviously wrong. But also, if you want to send in your favorite jerk off stories, we'll put that on the air as well.
Yeah, we'll read those as well for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
because this show doesn't go on long enough. Yeah, we're not. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Bye.
See you at the party, Richter!
If you enjoy our show, please consider giving us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast app of choice. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Potty Richter to make sure you never miss an episode. See You at the Potty Richter is a production of Tape Deck Media. Follow Tape Deck on Instagram at TapeDeck_media or look us up on Facebook for more hilarious podcasts.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.